Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of WBCR's Winning with Wow radio broadcast. We are also broadcasting live on Facebook, and it's always an exciting time to talk to bright women who are using the gifts and talents they have to contribute to the economic growth, not only of themselves, their families, their communities, but to the broader community. And today, we are nothing short of having an awesome and phenomenal woman with us today, Nickia Bland, who is the owner and operator of her family's funeral services in Petersburg, Virginia. Hi, Nickia.
Hi, Dr. Danny. So honored to be here spending time with you and talking to your audience. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. And, this is an informal, exchange. We like to look at it from the standpoint of, we're just sitting on the couch talking girlfriends. But the reality is the topic or the content of our conversation is more important than anything else. And today I want you to share, some of the pearls and wisdom and knowledge that you have gained is in being an entrepreneur and in a unique capacity, and unique perhaps even for a woman to be in that role. But first, before we get started, I always want to give you an opportunity to, if our listeners only have time to view only a portion of this segment, what would you want them to walk away with as it relates to your entrepreneurial journey?
Absolutely. Well, I definitely always say when somebody asks me this question that integrity is everything. Being a man or a woman of your word is everything to me. Not perfection, integrity. If you make a mistake, be willing to be accountable for it and correct it. Always trying to do the right thing in business and life too. That's my life motto. Integrity for me is key. So if anybody takes anything away from what I'm saying, just try to do the right thing. Being a great person, being an honest individual, being somebody that somebody can trust in, that makes a huge difference for me. And that also sets the tone for how people want to interact with you. So integrity by far is my number one, always.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you touch on something that really is transferable, no matter what capacity you're operating in. A lot of times we'll talk about, having tenacity and perseverance. We'll talk about things in the context of how we press forward through difficult moments. But what I hear you saying is that, particularly in your field, but it sounds like it's also personal, that, you want to have the character that people can place their trust in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so very important. Personally, if I can't trust you, no matter what we got going on, it's a go for me. I'm going to be guarded. I'm not going to be able to be creative. I'm not going to be willing to share. And that stunts growth. And so in business, especially, your whole purpose of business is growing, and being of service. In my line of business, people are entrusting us during a very sensitive and delicate time in their life. They don't need to have us saying one thing and doing another. They're already stressed dealing with the loss of a loved one. So the fact that our families trust us is what has carried us for 70 years. This is our 70th year in business.
Congratulations, 70, and that's one of the things that the Women's Business Center of Richmond, federally funded nonprofit, through the US SBA, we think about the context of our charter to address some of the needs of the underserved. We think about legacy. We think about how do we not just help people get in business, but we want you to thrive in business, and to have a business that has 7 decades under its belt. kudos to you and your family. I mean, have you always been an entrepreneur? Is this something, can you tell me a little bit about how you got into it? I know that you are a proud pirate, so you can share that insight with us. But, tell me about how you came into being in your leadership, your current leadership capacity.
Absolutely. Well, I have a unique story. I will start off by saying that my grandfather is the individual in my family who started the funeral home back in 1952. He grew up in an era of Jim Crow laws, Deep South, a lot of obstacles, a lot of difficulty. He persevered. He shoveled coal at Fort Lee base over here, Army base over here, and he put his money together and he started his dream alongside with my grandmother. So they founded the funeral home back in 1951. My father, which is the son of my grandfather who started it, was raised here within the funeral home, and it's just been a family thing. We would come to the funeral home, my brother and I, as kids, to play. So as far as being in a funeral home, it's just something that I have.
Pardon me, I just had to chuckle. I'm sure some of our listeners did a double take when you said you came to the funeral home to play.
Played in caskets, yes. We'd act like we were being funeral directors and conduct funerals for imaginary people. It was embedded in us. Okay. So we've just always been around the funeral home. It's been a family business for sure. Now, as I got older and that got a little old to me, I'm honest, I was not really interested in taking care of dead people, seeing dead people, touching dead people. I'm going to be frank. I'm going to be blunt. That was not my life's mission, to be working in the funeral home. I actually, after I graduated from Hampton in 2000, I went to work in corporate America.
What was your major?
It was business management.
Okay.
Worked in Capital One, and I did mortgages and things like that. I worked at this nonprofit called DECA, which is based in Northern Virginia. It's in the high school, sort of like FBLA. DECA is a marketing association. I worked alongside the executive director there for several years, and I enjoyed those jobs. However, something always pulled me back to the family business. My mom also started to work in the family business. She taught elementary school for about 10 years and just grew tired of it. So everybody in my family was in the funeral home except me. But they always pulled me in because I'm very good with computers and, Nicki, can you do this for me? Can you do that? So I just always helped because I was also very appreciative and wanted to support the legacy continuing within the family. But to have the actual interest in the funeral business, that didn't come about until I actually got here in 2013, serving as the person in charge, to be quite honest with you. So it took me a while. The way that I ended up here was different. My mother at the time was the individual that was operating the funeral home. My father had unfortunately fallen ill. Petersburg is a very small place. We're very well known. My father was a pastor at Metropolitan Baptist Church. My mother, alongside my dad, we sung, we went to church all day long. Everybody knows the Bland family in the community. So we're very fortunate. I'm very blessed and fortunate to have a legacy that a lot of people respect and appreciate. Both my mother and father have passed away. So that's how I get into this position now. Just recently lost my dad in October, lost my mom back in 2013. So when she passed, my father was ill. So he was unable to operate as the funeral director. I left my job, and I came and I took over as the person in charge. So it was unexpected. I was not expecting my mom to die. It was a lot. I was not prepared. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I knew how to do the little things like do a program and write an obituary, but running a business is a lot, and when you're running a family business and you're already, blessed to have a business that's pretty fully much made, you also have a business that also has some problems that come along with it too. So it was a little bit different. It was a little bit trying.
So how did you begin the process of, and I'll just put a pin in this,
Mm-hmm.
When our viewers, our listeners, when they think about the stories here, we want
Mm-hmm.
to use the story to highlight something that they can use if they find themselves similarly situated. And so when I think about you had business preparation, you had some skills, you had some interaction in your corporate jobs or whatever, and even managing programs or people. But
Mm-hmm.
how did you close the gaps that you, I guess, found yourself having when you were thrust to having to do payroll, having to hire and fire, having to manage processes that you may not do yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but you're depending on other people to do an excellent job. And then, of course, you have some people skills, but did you reach out to other funeral directors? Were there other family members? How did you close your gaps?
Oh, those gaps were hard. I will start out by saying that I'm so thankful for the staff that we have here. The people that work at the funeral now are the very same people that have been with us for years. So
Wow.
a lot of my gratitude and appreciation to our people. They have been committed. They have been loyal. We've had some new people come on board, but a lot of the people that are here with me, beside me, helping me, have known me since I was a little girl. So I'm grateful that trial and error. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. When I first came on board, there were tax issues and other things of that nature that I didn't know anything about. So trial and error. I did things, I researched, I took it upon myself to try to learn different things. I did reach out to a lot of the funeral directors. There's one lady in particular whose husband is the mayor of Norfolk, and they have funeral homes in Norfolk. She and her husband both did their apprenticeships under my grandfather here at this funeral home. So we've trained at Bland Funeral Homes a lot of the funeral directors that have gone out and have their own funeral homes now. So I had a lot of people that I could call and ask, and her name is Donna. And Donna has been so instrumental in helping me. I could pick up the phone and give her a call and ask her, hey, how do you do this? What do I do here? So I reached out to colleagues, and a lot of people just have a great respect and love and appreciation for my grandfather, for my mom, for my dad, that I've truly benefited off of their presence and impact in the community. So trial and error, though, really, like, I just, I can't do that. And I'll just plain out ask. I've had to hire, certain tax professionals to help sort out issues. I've had to learn how to do budgets, and I'm still learning, but I'm more confident now in my ability because I've learned from my mistakes. I've accepted my role, because to be quite honest with you, this role was thrust and it was in my lap. I did not have
Right.
mentally prepare. But I have learned since I've been here that I am a businesswoman, that I have an entrepreneurial mind, that God knows exactly what he's doing when he throws us this thing. Because I was looking at God like, you want me to do what? And I was
Well,
looking.
I mean, but the piece that I think that I hear resonating, and thank you again for being so transparent in talking about there are challenges. There was no recipe, there was no book that you looked up, bam, it was there. But I hear that you were resourceful, that you had some humility, that you need, I got to ask someone who does know, as opposed to going on like you don't know, and acting like you do when you don't. But, I know when I was going into my career, one of the things that I would often hear is that doing any job is about 80 or 85% of want to. Meaning if you really want to do the job, you will find ways to close your gaps.
Absolutely.
And so many times we think about people's resume and their pedigree, but when they don't line up with what they're doing, that that extra oomph comes from within. And so that's what I would like for our listeners to think about, is that there are resources and people and things that can help you close your gaps, but you have got to want to, and you can still be successful. One of the things that I want to pivot to is this idea around business and community. I think there is a definite integration, right, between a funeral home in a community like Petersburg. So that happens. But we believe, just like my mentor in media, that businesses can make communities better. So can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about your integration into the community and maybe even the things that you do to keep nurturing that relationship? Because I think in doing so, you're providing jobs in the community, but you're also providing services to community. So people look for you to be upstanding and things like that. But talk about the relationship between the community and your business in particular.
Absolutely. Look, my grandfather was a community person. My mom and my dad, community people. If I could start back with my grandfather, when civil rights marches happened here in Petersburg and the people marching were arrested, my grandfather was the one to go to the jail to bail them out. A lot of those individuals attended his church, First Baptist Church, Harrison Street, which is one of the oldest Black congregations here in our area. So he put that social activism and community assistance within all of us. And so we have through the years continued to do that. Fast forward to what I do, we make sure that we are participating in community food drives. We make sure that we are offering donations and support during the holiday times. We make sure that when families call on us to, have us be of service to them during the loss of their loved one, that we not only look to, have them pay us for their services, but we also care about their mental health, their grieving process. So community is so important to us. The community is what keeps our business thriving and growing. So we make sure that we make it our business and make sure that we give back. There are other programs that I want to expand upon. COVID kind of threw us off track, but I had a group of ladies that came to me every third Thursday, I believe, and we played bingo. And we just greatest time. They made me laugh. I would get them some pizza and we would play bingo. And those types of things like that brought so much joy to them because otherwise they'd be sitting at home not doing anything. Then we've done Christmas toy drives. We've partnered with local shelters around here to ask them to provide us with families who are in need. And we've allowed the families to come in and select from the Christmas items that we have gathered together. So those types of things are so very important to us. We continue to want to do that with my parents both being deceased now and very well known in the community. I'm now working on starting a nonprofit to raise a scholarship fund in their honor because they were really big on helping young people. My mom especially, she loved everybody. She was a people person, but if you ask anybody who knew my mom, she'd come here, sweetie. What are you going to do? And she was just that type of person. And my father was the very same way. So I don't know how to operate in a community without being involved in the community. So we're always going to be committed to doing that. Absolutely.
So, and we like to, shout out those entities that pour into us or have poured into our families. And I know that your parents were very fond of a local university that I think a lot of as well. What university might that be?
Well, my parents are Trojans. They went to university.
Shout out to Virginia State University.
I did not go there.
I'm sure that now, do you have any other family members that work with you in Bland Funeral Services?
Yes, my brother and I, he's a little bit older than I am. I always like to add that in there. I'm the younger, more attractive sibling, but my brother and I work together to run the funeral home today. Absolutely. He is more so on the service side. The funeral home thing is his thing. And what I mean by that is working with the deceased and directly working with the families and doing the funeral directing. That's the lane that he stays in. You're going to find me in the back in the office, making sure the money is right, making sure things are paid, making sure I'm working with the accountant and payroll and things like that. So we have our lanes and that's how we make it work.
So what about succession planning? That's something that a lot of small business, like you said, you were thrust into this role, but a lot of diverse businesses, and I say small businesses because our history a lot of time is not as decorated with thinking everything through. We got into business to take care of our family. We stayed into business because the community supported us. But then when we start to move on, who's lined up to move on? So do you put any thought into succession planning?
Absolutely. Succession planning is so very, very, very important. My family has not always done that good, to be quite honest with you, but I have learned some very valuable lessons, and we encourage the families that we serve to think about that as well. But I think that Black businesses in particular, businesses like mine with the same type of framework, succession planning is so very important. Not only succession planning, but also making sure that when you do pass the baton to the next generation, that things are lined up in decency and order. So you're not, handing off a bunch of stress and a lot of issues, because the person is not going to deal with it, and I don't have any problem being transparent, but running a business is not easy. It is, sometimes we're doing great and the money is rolling in, and other times it's a little quiet. It's by the grace of God that we are still here, and I'm a spiritual person all day. I'm not ashamed to talk about him,
That's
but
right.
not for him, we would not be here. So I know that there have been some supernatural things and blessings and divine things that have come in to help us at the funeral home. But I'm definitely working on succession plans for my children, even if they're not physically interested in being here. What I being in this position is that saving our Black businesses is key. When I go out my front door, I see dilapidated buildings. When I was a little girl, there were businesses there, So my passion for business and helping others succeed in business is important to me. I have a desire to revive the city of Petersburg. And so all of that comes with making sure that your stuff is straight at home before you can help somebody else.
That's right. I'm interested in supporting that effort. As you know, we've been talking to some folks at VSU about some of their programs and efforts to spawn business. I think MBL is now in the vicinity and they support growing businesses. But I think one of the things that we do in a unique kind of way at the Women's Business Center, supporting minorities as well as women, is at the beginning of the funnel, like all, with the aspiring entrepreneurs, the people who may not have 10 years or 5 years in business, but those who are really trying to grab themselves. And I think there's a lot of things that can be learned about those buildings and their availability, whether the city owns them or another entity, because those are the things that, providing opportunities for students who may want internships and they don't have to go so far away. I mean, there are some things that we should talk about. Time always seems like it just goes so fast, but one of the things that I'm curious to know is in the capacity of, if I'm running my business and say it's a marketing consulting firm, I have different associations and affiliations that I'm engaged with to try to keep myself fresh. I may take some continuing education courses. Tell me a little bit about how you, in your capacity at the funeral home, what are those organizations you belong to or other entities that you gather to make sure you're up on any of the latest things that you may need to be knowledgeable about?
Absolutely. Well, as a funeral home and being in the funeral industry, obviously there are organizations that have, membership availability. Southside Funeral Directors are a group of the Black funeral directors in our region. So we participate in that. And then you have your National Funeral Directors Association, where you have the diverse, the bigger national population. So we are members of those organizations. We try to attend conferences when we can to make sure we remain in the loop. We work with our colleagues, so I think that it's important that we work together. It's a lot of funeral homes in Petersburg. I don't know how that happened, but everybody at the funeral home here in Petersburg, we consider our friends. We're in business and we're competitors, but these are people that, have actually come and worked here before they went out and got their own funeral home. So it's all about keeping the relationship and working together. Then I'm a research person. There are a lot of different trends that are going on within the funeral industry. 10 years ago, traditional burials were, the thing. Now cremations are new. So you even have to be innovative in this particular industry. You know, we want to offer our families alternatives to traditional methods. You know, everybody doesn't want to do a funeral this way. Then COVID really came and shook everything up because we were not able to bring large groups together. We had to get very creative with Zoom and drive-through viewings. We've done a lot of things to try to help our families feel like they're honoring their loved ones, because it's been difficult for everybody. So staying ahead of those trends, making sure we participate in the organizations and memberships that are available to us to make sure we stay ahead. And that's just what I do. I just love to research and find new ways.
Outstanding. So how do people follow up with you at the Bland Funeral Home Funeral Services? Give us your contact information.
Yes, our website is Bland Funeral Homes with an S on the end.com. We are on Facebook and Instagram, blandfuneralhomes.com. Just look us up, Bland Funeral Homes, not the .com part, but at Bland Funeral Homes. That's the handle. So we are available that way. Our telephone number is 804-732-7841. You know, I know, you know, people don't like to think a lot about death, but it's a part of life and it happens. And I want everybody to know, if anybody finds himself in need of a funeral director, to just look for a funeral home that truly puts your needs first. As in any industry, we have people that kind of take advantage of things. But my grandfather was a man of integrity, and he wanted to help everybody. Sometimes we have families that come to us that may not have the means to pay for a funeral. He never turned anybody away. He always found a way to make it work. And so we continue to, you know, be focused on those principles. But not only that, we continue to try to educate people too about the importance of getting life insurance and things of that nature. So, you know, if you need us, we are here, and we consider it an honor to serve our families.
Well, I am much appreciative of the time that you've taken with our audience on Facebook and in the radio world of ESPN Radio 106.1 to share your story, to share your knowledge and wisdom, and to share an opportunity for your services if they arise. We are the Women's Business Center Richmond, located on Virginia Union University's campus. We are here also to help you with your business, and maybe you have an interest in sharing your story through our platform. Reach out to us at thewbcrichmond.org or thewbc Richmond on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you so much again, Ms. Bland. Bye-bye.
Dr. Danny, have a good one.
You do the same.